What's up traders? In this video, I will be performing a market forecast on EUR/USD. So stay tuned. Now this video is going to serve as my outlook for EUR/USD for the month of June 2024. And as always, I'm going to be focusing on the weekly, daily, and 4-hour timeframes. We're going to kick things off here on the weekly, and to be fair, very little has changed since our last market forecast on the weekly time frame. We are still trading within this bearish weekly range. The overall anticipation is still for price action to target this weekly week low, and as of late, price action has continued to consolidate in this area around the EQ of our weekly range. Now, as you can see, our most recent internal range is a bearish one, and the fact that our internal range points bearish indicates to us that our weekly bearish continuation phase is taking place. However, because of the current consolidating nature of price action, I would like to see another bearish internal breaker structure here in order to reinforce that bearish weekly continuation phase. And the reason I say this is because as price action consolidates, we could easily see price action pushing up to the upside, violating our internal strong high, and potentially targeting this weekly supply zone, which sits all the way at the extreme of our weekly range. Now, just a quick reminder, when I'm talking about weekly internal structure and weekly internal range, I am referring to daily structure and daily ranges, and you will see that in just a minute when we drop down to the daily time frame. Now, focusing on this internal range, I want to draw your attention to this weekly supply zone, which forms part of a weekly supply chain. This POI is going to be our next potential buy target going into the month of June 2024. Now, this is a fairly significant POI because it does have potential to facilitate a resumption of not only our internal bearishness, but our overall weekly bearish continuation phase. Now, that will be the case if this POI is respected. If the POI is violated, however, then our weekly internal strong high will be left vulnerable to being violated. And then obviously a violation of that internal strong high would open the door for price action to potentially target this weekly supply zone. And so now we can drop down to our daily time frame to have a better look at this weekly internal range. And so here on the daily time frame, you can see that our daily time frame, which is the internal of our weekly time frame, is bearish. We are trading within this nice bearish daily range. We had our daily pullback come in to mitigate weekly supply. We had a nice strong bearish reaction out to that POI, which led to our daily internal, i.e. our 4-hour structure, shifting bearish, and that signaled the start of our daily bearish continuation phase. And so now for this time frame, the current overall objective is a violation of this daily week low, and we can see that our most recent internal daily range is this bearish internal range here. Now, the interesting thing about the daily time frame is that the weekly supply zone that I pointed out, which is our next potential buy target, this POI sits above our daily internal strong high. And so what this means is that in order for a mitigation of this weekly supply zone to occur, we will need to see either a sweep of our internal strong high or a complete violation of our internal strong high. And if we focus on the price delivery that we've been experiencing here on EUR/USD ever since the midpoint of May 2024, we can see that this price delivery does suggest that going into June 2024, we could be seeing another bullish push to the upside, potentially targeting our internal strong high and this weekly supply. The reason I say this is because a very simple eye test that you can do is if you focus in on this bearish reaction as price action came out of this weekly supply, and if you compare it to this bearish reaction as price action came out of this daily supply, you'll notice that there is just significantly less bearish volume in here. Price action is a lot more corrective, and this often suggests that the bearishness we're seeing in here is just a brief pause before the essentially underlying bullishness continues. And if we now drop down to our 4-hour time frame, which is obviously the internal of our daily time frame, we can see even more information which suggests that that bullish push could definitely be on the horizon going into the start of June 2024. Now we obviously have this 4-hour range which is bearish, and that is facilitating our daily bearish continuation. The current overall objective of this 4-hour range is a violation of this 4-hour week low. But the interesting thing about the 4-hour time frame is the fact that our 4-hour pullback phase is essentially still taking place. Our most recent internal breaker structure is a bullish one here, which means that our most recent internal range is this bullish range. And the current objective of this internal range is a violation of our internal week high. And so a violation of this internal week high would obviously open the door for price action to potentially target our 4-hour strong high, which again, to remind you, is our daily internal strong high. And that 4-hour strong high sits just below our weekly supply zone. And so as we now go into June 2024, because of the fact that our price delivery coming off of the sweep of this daily supply zone at the midpoint of May 2024 was so corrective and was so low volume, it was essentially just the internal pullback taking place, we could now potentially be seeing price action pushing up towards the 4-hour strong high. Remember, when it comes to that relationship between internal and external structure, internal structure comes together to facilitate what we see on our external structure. And if we apply that here on the 4-hour time frame, yes, we are trading within a bearish 4-hour range. And yes, the overall objective is a violation of this 4-hour week low. However, the start of our bearish 4-hour continuation phase that will look to violate the 4-hour week low will only truly be confirmed once our internal structure shifts from a bullish market state to a bearish market state in order to facilitate that continuation. And so until that internal structure has shifted, realistically, we haven't quite gotten confirmation that the continuation phase has begun. And so the fact that our 4-hour internal is still pointing bullish and that 4-hour pullback is still taking place, this is why there is that suggestion that price action could be looking to either sweep or violate the 4-hour strong high in order to facilitate a mitigation of this larger weekly supply. And a mitigation of that larger weekly supply would make sense because of the fact that it forms part of this weekly supply chain that sits within an overall daily bearish range. And again, because of that relationship that exists between internal and external structure, the daily structure that we have in here, which is our weekly internal, is obviously coming together to facilitate our weekly bearish continuation phase, which ultimately will look to target this weekly week low. So I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on EUR/USD. I think there are some good opportunities that are going to be coming from this pair, especially when price action eventually breaks out of this consolidation. Even if that break is going to be to the upside or to the downside, there is going to be a lot of opportunities that this pair is going to be throwing up. So feel free to keep this one on your radar as well. As always, I appreciate you guys so much for watching, and I'll speak to you in the next one.